My name's Giselle McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Welcome everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the Candidates Forum. My name is Lourdes Montalvo. I work for the Secretary of the State's Office. And on behalf of Hartford Vota Coalition, a non-partisan group of organizations that have come together with the common goal of increasing voter engagement in the city of Hartford, we are going to be having tonight's forum. Tonight's forum is intended to educate and inform you about the Democratic Council candidates who will be on the primary ballot on Wednesday, September 16th. Additional forums are planned. Please pick up a flyer that lists every single one of the candidates. Inserted in the program is a feedback form. When the forum is over, please be sure that you filled out the feedback form and you leave that form at the table in the entrance. It is now my pleasure to introduce our moderator for this evening, Jody Sutar. Jody works for Hartford Steam Boiler Insurance Company as a senior underwriter. In her 32 years at the company, she has volunteered for many charity events. She has been a chairperson for the company's annual campaign for the Greatest of Hartford Arts Council, where the company has been the top company for 17 consecutive years. Please welcome Jody Salter.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Judy Sutar, and I'd like to welcome you to our forum. We're glad you were able to attend tonight's forum for the candidates running for City Council who will be on the Democratic Party ballot on September 16th. There are 12 candidates, and 6 who gets the most votes in the primary will be running as Democrats in the general election on November 3rd. The format for tonight's forum is different from those previously used by the coalition. It is based on the speed dating concept, and given the large number of candidates, it's designed to facilitate more personal interaction between the candidates and the attendees. As you can see, you are seated in 6 small groups. The candidates will visit each group in pairs and will spend 12 minutes answering your questions. Each of your groups has a facilitator whose job it is to assure that all participants have the opportunity to ask questions and to assure that candidates get an approximate equal amount of time to respond to the questions. You see a countdown clock on the screen behind me, and at the end of 12 minutes, I'll call time, and the pairs of candidates will move to the next group in a clockwise fashion, and the process will be repeated until the candidates have visited all 6 groups. There will be a brief closing remarks, and we will then adjourn. As you know, there are 2 slates of council candidates, those running with mayoral candidate Pedro Segarra and those running with mayoral candidate Luke Broning. Each pair of candidates will consist of 1 person from each slate. In order to pair up the candidates, we will begin picking names out of 2 hats. As I pull a name out, I'd ask the candidate to stand up and be recognized. Well, you're already standing. And then for each pair to go to one of the groups and be ready to begin. First name is James Sanchez. And James Woulfe. Glendowlyn Hall Thames. And Gwendolyn has asked that I inform you that she will not be able to stay for the entire program, but she will be here for as many rotations as she can fit in. Thank you. And Luwannia Johnson Martin. R. Winch. And Giselle Feliciano. They'll be going to group 3. Thomas Clarke. And Kenneth H. Group 4. Julio A. And Edward Casares. That's group 5. Yeah. So that leaves John Gale and Kyle Anderson for group 6.
Give me 1 second. I need to check something.
I know why she did that.
She's being mean.
Yeah. Can you go talk to her?
I was not being mean to you.
I'm her friend now, but she's still not my friend. She's not my friend no more.
Because they won't vote for you, huh?
My name is John Gale. I've been a longtime resident of Hartford. I was born in the North End on Enfield Street, raised in the West End. Hartford Public High School graduate. I'm an attorney. I've had my own law office for 38 years downtown Hartford. My office is actually just across the street from the library. I have 4 children who I've raised who all went to Hartford Public High School, and I'm very pleased to say that 2 of my children reside here in the city, and I have grandchildren here in the city. Very interested and have been interested in city affairs for most of my life, and now seeking to run for city council to try to continue some forward progress in the city, sensing a lack of leadership and a lack of direction coming out of City Hall.
Hi, my name is Kyle Anderson. I'm born and raised Hartford, 5 generations on one side and 6 generations on the other side. I currently reside in North End of Hartford, where I grew up. I live in the same house that I grew up in, but I lived all over the city. Lived in the West End, lived in the South End. I'm a Weaver graduate, so this is a good thing. Hartford High against Weaver. That's
Okay, you got it.
Seems like we go back the way Kirk can. I currently serve on City Council. I am the chair of Public Safety, and I serve on a couple OMB, and I serve on another committee. I am looking to move forward, stay involved with the city of Hartford. I consider myself a public servant, more so than a politician, because my aspiration of being in council is from seeing people who, I know, right? I thought it was going to be kind of like, seeing people like this gentleman sitting right across from me. These were my mentors and others from the city of Hartford. These were the people that cared about the city and loved the city. And I learned from watching those who did that kind of a thing, and I could do the same thing. I'm a grassroots kind of guy. I kind of emerged from grassroots. I'm involved in a lot of community initiatives, and I'm still somewhat involved, not like I want to be because of council, but I still want to go back. There's work to be done, and I want to finish the work. And I'm on row B, 3B.
All right, so anyone want to start asking questions? Anybody have a particular question? question for either of these candidates or for both of the candidates.
Well, there's been a lot of talk of the homicides and, you know, how distressing it is. And I feel that it's tied into a lot of our poverty and the hopelessness that a lot of people obviously feel in this city. I mean, I know we could discuss this for days about what's causing it, but I personally know a lot of people that are struggling, so I'm very aware of the poverty. I feel like it doesn't get talked about enough, and now we have free school lunches in the whole city. That is not a good thing. That shows how low our income is. Right. So I want to know from both of you what you plan to do to maybe help empower people more than just give them a Band-Aid to help alleviate some of this suffering that a lot of people are going through.
I think job creation in the city of Hartford is a very important issue, and one that has not been addressed well over the last couple of years. And very clearly, it's you know, in our campaign, the three issues that we're emphasizing the most are public safety, community policing, job creation, economic development, and the education. And you know, to your point, there's the best crime prevention program in the world is a good job. And so one of the things that we look around and we say, my goodness, the city of Hartford has tremendous leverage that it can use to help create job opportunities that it's failed to do. So start ticking it off. Take a simple example. The Hartford Police Force has hired 200 people in the last 5 years. Of those 200 people, only 16 of them come from Hartford. Now that's abysmal. Fire department, same problem. So among other things, first thing we'd like to do is try to get Hartford Fire, Hartford Police recruit from Hartford. Let's use our money to help give jobs here in the community. Second example, the city tried to create a small business incubator modeled after a program in New Haven. New Haven did the program. They managed to get 24 small businesses launched in 2 years. Hartford did the program. They managed to get 2 small businesses launched in 2 years. So clearly our execution fell flat. It's a program that we want to invigorate, make robust, help get small businesses out to the community. Small businesses, especially if you go along our arteries, get into Albany Avenue, Main Street, Maple Avenue, Weathersfield Avenue. These are businesses that employ neighborhood people. Third thing, City of Hartford spends a lot of money on school construction. It's spending a lot of money on a stadium construction. Its capital improvements budget spends a lot of money. We need to make sure that there's a local hire initiative in all of those programs, so that when I say a local hire initiative, that means that there's a set aside in each one of these contracts that requires that a certain number of Hartford people be hired. And my understanding, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong on this, my understanding is that one of the problems the city has had is while some of those local hire initiatives have been in place, we haven't had the follow through with the city in terms of being able to check on the contractors to make sure that they are complying with the local hire initiatives. So we need to make sure that the contractors know they are being looked at. Fourth thing, and then I'll turn it over to Kyle, is the MDC. City of Hartford has representation on the MDC. The MDC is involved in a $2 billion 15-year project of sewer separation. That's $2 billion of contract money that's going out into the streets. A lot of that money should be going to help hire Hartford people. The MDC should be creating a program. They've got enough time in this to create a program to train Hartford people so that they can get the jobs. We don't want to hear as an excuse that they can't find qualified people in Hartford. We know there are issues. We know that some of our Hartford workforce is not going to be up to speed. But let's leverage our money and try to make more employment opportunities for them. So a couple of ideas.
Well, right before Kyle answers, we do have about 5 minutes and 30 seconds left, so try to be as concise as you possibly can.
Oh, now you say that.
Take the whole time.
So we have at least one more question.
Okay. Now you say that. Very good question. One of the things that being the chair of public safety, it concerns me dearly. Whenever we lose a young person in the city of Hartford, both sides of the equation lose, the victim and the person that committed the crime. Currently, we have 406 police officers in the police department there, about not all officers, but in the police department. Bi-weekly, I meet with Chief Vota to talk about this issue. It's not a city of Hartford issue in particular. It's a statewide and nationwide issue with violent crime. One of the things and one of the factors you talked about, poverty, lack of education, employment, those are the driving factors for these kind of violence, hard murder violence. Over the last 3-4 years, I was trying to find out what can we do to trying to solve the problem. One of the things I initiated was the faith-based community, the FBI. That's something that it has to be stakeholders in the community coming together, working with the police department. Chief Vota has an excellent package as far as community policing strategy and model, but he cannot do it alone. The officers cannot do it alone. Just recently, doing some door knocking and canvassing over the couple of months, the current structure that we have for community policing needs to be, I think, addressed. We need to get officers out of the cruisers and maybe have more interaction. Talked about jobs. I mean, I just spoke to a gentleman today out of Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is number 4 in homicides in the nation. We're number 1 in New England. That's something that we don't want to be proud of, but the fact that it takes not only the police department, but it takes communities coming together. I'm a grassroots guy. I go to the vigils. I'm there looking at the family. Some of the people I know, luckily, thank God, hasn't been any of my family members, but it's people who I know, people who I grew up with. And it hurts me dearly. But the thing we have to do is come together as a community. We have to put the onus on not only government, police department, but we got to put it on parents. We got to put it on community. There's a morality issue, I think, that's not being addressed. That's why I said, let's go to the faith-based community and see if they can do some outreach, see if they can come up with some solutions to help us come together. Because, violent crime is a killer for economic development. And there's a pipeline called the Public Safety Initiative that I was very instrumental in starting along with the mayor, is that we have a feeder system. We have to have the officers look like the state or the city that they're representing. Okay, we got to have those officers doing that. The fire department is doing better. The fire department is doing a lot better than the police department. The police department, the skew's way off, but a lot of the firefighters live in the city of Hartford. I can't give you exact numbers, but there's more so than the police department. We have to start on a pipeline of changing that. The pipeline is the Public Safety Initiative, where you have young people from the city of Hartford that are involved in Enfield Public Safety Academy and over Hartford High Law and Government Academy. You have these young people who are looking to go into this career. Excellent career. These aren't jobs, these are careers. With pensions, that's one of the driving factors of our budget. It's the pension, is the medical costs and pensions. So, we want to start there.
Yeah, we can try and squeeze one more in. Quick.
Really
concise question.
Do you feel that it's the city government's job to find jobs and provide education? Or do you think it's something that people should be doing?
Well, I certainly think that everybody plays a role in both education and in job creation. But that said, the city of Hartford hires a lot of people. So when I talk about the city using its hiring power and its leverage to help ourselves, that has help the community, absolutely. And certainly with education, we have a state constitution that requires that the state of Connecticut educate every single person. That's a constitutional right within the state of Connecticut. So.
Thank you. I think that we have an obligation as a governing body, as the government, to put the education presented to people, but I think it's a moral issue that the parents step up to get their children educated. We need to look at truancy. Okay, truancy numbers have come down, but we need to look at those factors why children aren't getting education. What are some of the barriers that they're facing? Is it because of because they're lacking certain food requirements, nutrition at home? We have to find that out. There is a lot, but I think the main responsibility is on us to provide adequate schools. I'm not a Board of Education member, but we give out 51% of our budget to the Board of Education. They have a vast majority. Things have been changed with the Board of Education. Our truancy is down. Our graduation rates are higher than what they used to be. Our classes are smaller.
Time's up. Time for us to rotate clockwise.
Clockwise. Okay.
So we go to one, huh?
We go to one.
We go to one.
I know why she did that.
She's being mean.
Yeah. Can you go talk to her?
That is not being mean to you.
I'm her friend now, but she's still not my friend. She's not my friend no more.
Because they won't vote for you, huh?
How's everyone doing?
How you doing?
Good.
I guess I'm going to try and squeeze in an introduction right now. So candidates, please introduce yourself. Very, very short bio. Rock, paper, scissors, start.
Again, my name is Julio A. I moved back to the city of Hartford right after college about 10 years ago. I started working as community liaison for the mayor's office then, dealing with constituent issues down in the South End. For the last 7 years, I've served as a vice president of a Metro Hartford Alliance, which is the city's chamber of commerce, and have served on numerous boards, including being vice president of the Hartford Public Library. By night, I am a husband.
Just want to make sure that all the candidates have switched to their new groups. Yes? Okay, so we're going to start right now. Your 12-minute starts right now.
And by night, I am a husband to a wonderful, supportive wife, Erin, and then a father to a 10-month-old baby, Alexa.
My name is Edward Casares. I'm a 47-year resident of the city of Hartford. I live in Hartford's Southwest neighborhood with my wife, Inez. We've been married 39 years. I served 33 years on the Hartford Fire Department, retiring in 2000, 2 years ago as fire chief. Served as fire marshal, and I served in almost every rank in the department. I have a bachelor's degree in fire science from Columbia Southern University. I have an associate's degree from Goodwin College in Homeland Security. I serve on many boards and commissions. I've been Hartford Economic Development, Hartford Redevelopment Agency. I serve on Goodwin College's Board of Trustees and serve on their audit and student services. We have about $5 to $7 million in expenditures a month at Goodwin College that we have to keep a close eye on. I've worked with many community-based organizations. Matter of fact, I was executive director for the San Juan Center in the late 90s, early 2000s, where we served a population that was at 150% of the poverty rate, the federal poverty rate. So I have a close connection with the community-based organizations, and I love this city, and I'm willing to serve.
Okay. So I'm going to have someone else to have a question. Very short, very concise.
What are the three main areas that you plan to work on?
I'm sorry.
If elected, what are the three main issues that you plan to work on?
Public safety, quality of life, and really early childhood education are three critical issues. The quality of life, we have ordinances on the books currently that we need to enforce like other towns do. The public safety, I have expertise in public safety, and I'd like to be, as elected, work with whoever's the chair of public safety and the police chief, and looking at that plan, their policing plan, to better understand the root cause of what's going on and what resources they need in order to accomplish the goals of the chief. Again, early childhood education is critical that we get our children educated at an early age, and quality of life, a value system in our neighbors where we have concern about each other. If I don't value myself, why would I value my neighbor? And so those quality of life issues that seem to infiltrate certain parts of the cities at certain times of the year are things that we really need to focus on, provide education, prevention, and things of that nature.
I think public safety has to be the top priority for the next administration. Making sure that the police department is staffed appropriately, when I say public safety, I also mean making sure it's a proactive approach, making sure that the kids are doing the right things, making sure they have internships, making sure that the community has jobs. I think public safety encompasses so many different aspects in this community that it has to be the top priority in the city. The second piece is education. I think making sure that every single child in this city has a quality education regardless of what school they go to, whether it's a community school, a charter school, or a magnet school. Every single school has to provide a child the proper education in this city. And then the third thing, nothing can happen unless we get the fiscal house in order in this city. The fact that we have a mill rate of 74, which is almost double any other municipality in this city. The fact that our grand list has shrunk by $3 billion since the 1990s, so we don't have any tax revenue coming in the city, and the fact that our revenues are being outpaced by expenditures. So those are the top three qualities, or the top three issues that any administration is going to have to face coming into the next election.
Okay, another question. All right, if not, I have a list of questions.
I mean, we could just talk.
A couple things. I'm not gonna get away from keeping it general. A couple things I've just noticed in Hartford. If you could improve a couple things, and specifically, not general public safety. What would they be besides creating jobs and stuff like that? I work for social services during the day, and then I come around here, I see South Green, and I see the homeless population, and I see businesses that aren't helping them. I mean, you're selling somebody your EBT card, you're giving them illegal things. What can we? I think those are bigger issues. They don't come up enough. These are things that you're not can't really touch or see, but they're there.
The quality of life issues.
Yeah. What can we do for the homeless population in Hartford?
That's a good question.
Well, I know personally, I've been in the homeless shelters, I've volunteered at some homeless shelters, and there's the issue that one of the main issues that's driving homelessness is addiction, substance abuse, and people who are leaving the prison system and the so-called reentry. There is no reentry. I mean, there's some social issues. Someone who has served time and is released to their community is facing many challenges. They're not coming out with a clean slate. And so they need to find a place to live, and some places won't allow them to live. So we need to look at the root causes of why there's homelessness. Addiction, substance abuse, people released from incarceration, where do they go? They have no family, no friends. Hartford has become an oasis of social services for folks. People need to survive. And Hartford being one of the poorer cities in the nation, this is something that we as council will inherit, and it's going to take years to see a dent in it. To be real, I've been here for 47 years, and I've seen homelessness and I've seen poverty for all 47 years that I've been here. I grew up in Bellevue Square. When we first came here from Chicago, we came to Bellevue Square. We went to the Poor People's Federation. We went to the San Juan Center. We went to all these social service agencies for help. So these agencies are providing help to this day. We have not yet been able to find the cure for these social ills.
I think the fact is that we don't support our ex-offenders and the reentry program the way we should. The city doesn't have any one person, any department that is really focused on a reentry program. So what's going to happen? Someone gets dropped off here in the city of Hartford. They don't have the proper support. They don't know where to go. They don't have the proper support needed to get them back on their feet. They're just going to go back to their lifestyle. And at this point, who can blame them? If we're not there to support them the way we need to support them as Hartford, as the city of Hartford, as elected officials, all they're going to do is come back, and it's going to be a cycle of poverty and a cycle of homelessness. And the other thing is we have to create jobs. I mean, we have to give them hope. We have to give them support. And it starts with our small business here in the city. So making sure that we invest in our corridors, our major corridors, the Albany Avenues, the main streets, the Franklins, the Park Streets, to ensure that these small businesses are providing jobs for our Hartford residents. And the city, at the end of the day, has to walk the walk, or walk the talk, and we have to, as a city, hire more Hartford residents. And I think that's one way, but it's a long-term issue. As the chief pointed out, I mean, it's a long-term issue, but at the same time, we have to set some guidelines for the future when it comes to the homelessness population of the city.
Question, how do you answer?
Try our best.
The stadium is going to be the monkey on the next administration's back. As we know, the stadium is coming. The stadium came in 3 phases, right? We have the stadium, and then we have the brewery and the grocery store. That's not so much phase in that. We also have to, start in 2016, pay $4.5 million a year on this bond. What are you going to do to secure the rest of the phases of the stadium to help pay for the building?
I think everybody's kind of already in the mindset that the stadium's coming, whether you want it or not. It's here. So we have $4.5 million that we need to ensure that it doesn't fall on the backs of our taxpayers in the city. So the city has come up with 9 revenues of cash. One of them already isn't coming to fruition, which is the admission tax in the state. So we as a council, whoever's elected has to make sure they go back to the legislature next year to make sure that as a team we come up with a proposal to get that admissions tax. So that's $450,000 that is needed to pay off. So I think collectively we have to ensure that the building permits are paid, that the parking is paid. I think overall the major issue that we have to ensure as a council is to make sure that the entire development is done, not just the baseball stadium. So the parcel that has a supermarket and housing, that's next up on the list. There has to be a shovel in November. There has to be a shovel because that's the only way that we ensure that the tax base is growing in the city. Not as much as we want it, but the last piece that we need to ensure is that we have a nice collaboration with Clay Arsenal. If Clay Arsenal is again kind of siloed out and in an island, that will be detrimental to the future of the city of Hartford. We have to ensure that is a connection to get the connection of the neighborhood back into downtown that has been missing for the last 40 years.
And I agree. The most critical piece, I think, of that project is the housing and retail. That's the piece that excited me when I sat in on the task force to review the proposals. And the one that excited me the most was what was going to happen to those residential and business occupancies. I think that is a gateway to the city, and it's also going to allow the growth and the vibrancy of downtown extend into all neighborhoods. Clay Hill is a neighborhood. I grew up on 130 Albany Avenue. Right now there's a vacant lot with tombstones on it. That's where we lived. That neighborhood has been neglected for many, many years. I was part of the group that put the Lazada Park renovations, working with Boundless Playgrounds and the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. And so that whole park, we were able to get a little bit over $500,000 to renovate and revitalize that park. And there's other activities going on at the Y, the Lupo Park, the new school there. But that piece is real critical. It's been critical since the 1970s. They called it the Triangle Project back in the day when they were looking at redeveloping that area. It's a critical piece. We need to get it done.
Thank you all.
I know why she did that.
She's being mean.
Yeah. Can you go talk to her?
I was not being mean to you.
I'm her friend now, but she's still not my friend. She's not my friend no more.
Because they won't vote for you, huh?
I'm nobody.
Very brief.
Oh, let's not even go there. Let's not even go there. Let's not even
My
go
name
there.
is Thomas Clarke II, also known as TJ Clarke. I live in the Blue Hills neighborhood. I'm the father of two young sons. I work for the federal government. Used to work for the city of Hartford as well. I have an education, master's in business administration, concentration in international business. I am a newcomer to the political scene, an incumbent, looking to bring about a change. Also experienced as well, and looking to be elected to city council.
Okay, our 12 minutes starts right now.
Good evening. My name is Councilman Ken Kennedy, and I've been a councilman for 14 years, 4 terms. I'm the chairman of the Operation Management and Budget Committee. I'm in my 3rd stint with that. I am a lawyer. I've been practicing for 25 years. I'm a graduate of the University of Missouri and the University of Kentucky. I've lived in Hartford since I was 26 years old, so I've been here about 25 years. I think that's, I'm a husband, I'm a parent, children in the system. I got 2 children in college, and I'm a resident in the west end of Hartford, and I have been at home for about 18 years.
Okay, so we're gonna have anyone else want to ask a question? If not, I have a list of questions. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. The stadium, as we know, is the monkey on the back, right? Comes in 3 phases, right? We have the first part is the baseball stadium. The second part is not so much developing very rapidly. We're supposed to have the brewery and the grocery store. Kind of falling out of play. What will we do to secure the $4.5 million that we need to start paying on as of next year? What are we going to do to make sure the rest of the development makes the stadium a worthwhile investment?
It's my understanding that the revenue is supposed to be coming from the naming rights organizations, about 9 of them, but they really have not been identified to the general public as to who they are, and those are actual dollars that city's going to be able to collect to pay for the stadium, which is again $4.5 million for the next 25 years. So that becomes a problem if the city is not able to find that money to pay $4.5 million for the next 25 years. When really this has been the only economic development project, robust project for the city of Hartford, and just really thinking about how this money could be more utilized to take care of some of the long-standing issues that the city of Hartford has been facing.
The total project in the city for that project is $250 million. The 4.7 or 4.5, 4.7 is about 0.78% of the budget. We have a $533 million budget, and the year before that it was $550. It was worth the risk. We spend a lot more than $4.5 million in various ways throughout within the city budget. The parties have signed contractual agreements. They are required to perform those contractual agreements. Phase 2 and Phase 3 of the project have not been finished negotiating. We negotiated Phase 1, entered a project labor agreement in doing so. The grocery store is already, I think that's already taken care of. The Hooker Brewery, it'll be in the city of Hartford, whether it's in that spot or location or whether it's at the Dillon Stadium project. When that starts growing, I think that's up in the air a bit. But I think the developer center plan, who are working both projects, I believe, are moving that project forward and plan to complete that project. I don't think there's any fear. I know that's been drummed up of Phase 2 or Phase 3 not happening. We're only paying for the stadium. But the rest of the project and the rest of the development in terms of the housing, that's going to come online. And the doubts about the people have about that is we're 98% full. Downtown housing is 98% full. We don't have enough downtown homes yet for the market that's coming in. There are 900 homes coming online now. That'll be another 700, and probably there'll still be more housing coming downtown. So I don't worry about the downtown housing phase of the project. There may be concerns in terms of the marketing for the businesses that'll come, and I think that's a legitimate concern, and that's something we'll have to watch. But in terms of the risk, there has not been a project in the city of Hartford that has not required some form of an economic assistance from a governmental entity at all, in any project in the last 30 years. Further, if we look at what the city used to look like, where that Bud Ugly building used to be, how about the building that used to be off Capitol West? I give the mayor some credit for knocking those buildings down, clearing the way for the economic development that is occurring now. That street had been like that for the entire time I lived in Hartford, and now we're talking about at least something different. So I think it's a positive step in the direction. Everyone may not agree with it, but for economic development to happen, we've got to put some skin in the game. If we had voted that project down, I think a lot of projects, planned projects in the city would have stopped, because I don't think they would have thought the council was ready to do serious business from an economic development standpoint.
I just think those monies should have been properly allocated to the neighborhoods. I understand downtown is the central part of the city of Hartford, but when you take a look at the failing number of schools, of students failing in the schools, the condition of the neighborhoods that they're in, the blight that are in the neighborhoods, they have to make sure that there a significant amount of money being invested into the neighborhoods, which we have not seen that. We've had the Clean City Initiative, we had the Ellis and I, but that really has not yielded any type of positive results.
If we stand pat and do nothing, our revenues will continue to shrink. We'll be able to continue to provide less services. At some point, we have to take an appropriate gamble risk to grow that grand list. We do not have a growing grand list. If it grows as a result of inflation. But we have not had substantial growth in the grand list, and that's the reason you had to take the risk here. We have to be willing to take the risk to grow the grand list. And if we don't do that, there'll be no economic development in the city. Phil Schillenberger at one point, God rest his soul, was trying to do a big project right where the farmer's market is right now. The city cleared tips and everything else. In the end, he couldn't put the financing together from the state, even though the city had cleared the way from the tip standpoint. And we needed the project to develop. We haven't had Class A office space in this city now since I've been here. The last one was a City Place, and that's now Class B space. So we have a city with Class B and Class C office space. We have a changing economy, which no longer mandates office space being necessary. So where's the revenue going to grow from? The reason we have the $20 million structural deficit is because when reval came, those buildings on the Gold Building and the other office buildings were not worth as much as they used to be. That caused us to be short revenue. So we have to grow the grand list at some point to even have a shot at providing the services that both you and I want to provide to the residents of our city. On the grand list, selling.
I'm not gonna. We don't want to go back and forth, so I'm gonna have someone else ask a question. Quick, concise answers.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. One of my concerns is transparency. I think part of the problem is the way the stadium was brought out, which we don't necessarily discuss. But now it's sounding like the supermarket is good. I don't know about anybody here, but I have not felt that confidence. And now we have the soccer stadium down at Dillon Stadium, which, oh surprise, the guy needs another person to jump in. And I just, it's
He needs another person.
there's another group involved now because the first group can't handle it on Dillon Stadium. Well, that was what was in the current. Maybe it wasn't right.
I haven't read the current. I mean, I'm sorry, finish your question.
Well, I'm just saying, I think transparency and trust. I feel like the city council and the mayor says, trust me, we got this. And, we read about stuff in the Hartford Current. We don't hear what's really going on about what's going on, like with a big project like the stadium. We should be hearing stuff all the time from the council about that. So how do you guys feel about transparency?
I'll take that one first, unless you want to really have it.
Let me just say this, I know that you have a limited rebuttal for this. When you talk about transparency and experience, this administration and this council has experience with not providing transparency to the council, to the public. And we see the fact that how the stadium project went and the lack of communication about Dillon Stadium, that just shows you that the residents still don't trust these elected officials to really handle the matters of the city. And if that's something that you don't have an appetite for anymore, that's something that you should think about changing. Because how are you going to feel comfortable with having something communicated to you after the fact? When you're talking about the stadium, He says that the mayor said this is a done deal with council standing behind it. But in fact, it's not a done deal because we don't know exactly about the phase, the second phase for the grocery store. We don't know how where the Hooker Brewery is going to go. But these are tax dollars that are going to this, and then if that fails, it's going to be on the back of the residents. And are you going to really stomach that? No, you're not. That's something that you need to really think about.
I'd like to address Dillon Stadium. I mean, I think there's a valid point to be made with the actual baseball stadium. I'd like to talk about Dillon. With Dillon Stadium, we have sat down with Syscon. We have sat down with the neighborhood group at least 3 times. We've had private individual meetings with both Lynn and Bernadine, which are the heads of those organizations, on numerous occasions, at least 2 or 3 times. The developer has had private meetings with Bernadine and Lynn. Okay. The developer of that building, there'll be a land lease agreement for that building. That gentleman's name is James Duckett. Mr. Duckett's a former NFL football player. His company submitted a letter of credit to the city of over $1 billion. They also submitted a second letter to the city with a line of credit of $25 million in cash. They would like to build the stadium on their own as private money investment to the tune of about $30 to $35 million. It's not just a soccer stadium, it's a multi-purpose facility that will do concerts, soccer team potentially, maybe a minor league NFL team when the NFL announces that minor league that they're trying to develop. But that has I think, been a fairly open process. Angel Arcee, the Kickball League. The Kickball League said we can't put a small Dillon Stadium in there. We've now decided we're going to actually rehab Weaver football field and Buckley football field to put in new turf and new rubberized track for both those high schools. So I think that process has had a lot of neighborhood input into the development and the look of that project. Now, has it gone to all the other neighborhoods? That may be a fair point, but it has not been a council holding it close to the vest kind of thing.
Well, I just
He made a statement that he went over to Bernadine Silver's and we talked about the Dillon Stadium. I'm a co-chair of the Clay Arsenal organization. And as the stadium was being done, the stadium was being brought upon on the line. No one from council nor the mayor's office came and talked to myself nor B. Powell about that project. We found out about the project afterwards. No, the stadium. Clay Arsenal was right there, borderline. Me being the co-chair of the NRC, that should have been something that should have been addressed to us
My name is Giselle Giselle Feliciano, but everybody calls me Gigi. I'm a resident, born and raised in Hartford. Have 2 beautiful children. Been with my husband for 21 years.
Okay, candidates, so 12 minutes starts right now.
And I've been working for City Council for 20 plus years since 1998. Go ahead.
All right, my name is Winch, a longtime Hartford resident, a retired veteran. I work with the Child Care Providers Union. I'm representative for the state for this year. After 5 years of working, we finally got a state contract for child care providers to get an increase in pay. We're out knocking on doors and reaching everybody nationwide to make sure that when people get work, that they make a living wage. We equate to like about $15 an hour. We know it's not a lot, but I mean, if you got to stand up and flip burgers, then you deserve to make a living wage.
Okay. Any questions?
He needs to go first.
Turn it out. Go ahead.
I have a question about the north end, or not sure the exact, locations of it, but the Promise Zone. And, I'm not going to hold you anything for either to get elected, but what do you envision that becoming? What kind of businesses, housing? What do you think? I think homeownership is a big part of Hartford. I'd love to see people own their first home there, businesses, whatever. If you had even like a wish list of what that would look like after 10 years or so.
The first wish list for the Promise Zone is that it really equates to dollars, that it's not a promise, that it's an actual delivery, that when people invest, that they're actually going to be funded, that when you have an application process that says if you do A, B, C, D, and E, you're going to be able to acquire X number of funds. I like to see those things become a reality. Promise is just a promise. If there's no delivery on the other end, then we need to stop playing with people and faking like we're going to give them something when we're not. So my vision that if the promise is really a promise and that people get employment, have employment opportunities, and able to buy property, that they actually get funding to assist them to build.
The Promise Zone, it's a process, like Arjo says. It's a process that everybody has to apply for because you get special grants. The Promise Zone, what it is, and the specialty of Hartford being called the Promise Zone, is that we get top priority in those grants that are coming towards us. Not the guarantee, but the actual fact that we might have the possibility we become, instead of 10, we'll move up to 5, and depending on how the grant is written. What I want to see as a wish, besides home ownership, as far, you're fine with that answer, or you want me to continue?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
4 wishes.
Okay.
4 wishes?
Full wish.
4, F-O-R.
I just hope something comes of it, so if you have
Absolutely, yeah, more than a promise. Exactly.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, I would like to ask a question. I would like to ask you, why can't we have our neighborhood schools like we've always had them back in the days?
Go ahead, you want to go first? One of the reasons that we can't have, neighborhood schools the way we used to have them back in the days because, whether we want to admit it or not, our children have come here like they're 5 years old already. Children are brighter, they're smarter, with all the technology going on around them. By the time they're 2 years old, they already know how to turn on the television, turn on the computer, and operate things. So we need not only, high-tech people in the classroom, because kids have high-tech at home. The problem with the schools is that children live right next door to a magnet school and can't walk in it. See, that's the problem. So we got to, spend the money where the needs are. If children are in what they call district schools, and that's where the needs are, more money needs to be funneled into the district schools so that those children have an opportunity to be able to at least match, where the magnet schools are. Magnet schools work because they get city money and state money. District schools, you want the city to fund them, and the city doesn't partner to make sure that when the city can't fund it, that every school should have a sponsor. Sponsor with these corporations, Travelers, Aetna, all these corporations who have big dollars, they get these tax abatements, make them invest in our neighborhood schools so we can even the playing field.
As far as your question was, why don't our neighborhood schools look like what they used to? Consent decree with Chef versus O'Neill. Chef versus O'Neill was a lawsuit. It's at a state level. We had to go ahead and make what the agreement was. We had to develop at least 8 to 10 schools that are considered magnet. Now, with that being said, Chef versus O'Neill is also what Project Concern back in the day was. And many parents chose that Project Concern. Many of our parents said, I want the opportunity to bus my child outside of Hartford for a better education. Okay? So, with that, I said some parents, not all, but some. Now, how do we increase our neighborhood schools? Right now, if you look, a lot of our neighborhood schools are overcrowded. That's not the issue. The issue is how do we better our neighborhood schools to compete with the actual correct schools, with the regional choice schools. We do that by the monies that are coming forward through the city. Now remind you, the city budget, 52% of that budget goes straight to the Board of Education. Now, with that also being said, 52% that is just a flat fund that is actually given to the Board of Ed, and the Board of Ed decides what they want to do with it, not the City Council. Okay? So we need to make sure that who we place on the Board of Education, whether it be elected or appointed, is not in it for the glory, is in it for the actual fact of our children. And that's what I have.
Yeah, and we also need to make sure that whoever the mayor is appointed as the superintendent, gonna be moved to the needs of the community, the needs of the people. You can't get appointed and then want to do what you want to do. You need to make sure that by sitting on the board, that you, the mayor, sitting on the board, being the chairman of the board, have more control about what the board is doing. You can't just give the board a blank slate and go, oh, well, I hope they're going to do, what it is that they're supposed to do.
On that point, then, we either want our mayor on the board or we don't want the mayor to be on the board.
He needs to be on the board.
Well, then I hear others from other sides saying we don't need the mayor on the board. So right now, currently, we're saying we need the mayor on the board. So if we need the mayor on the board, let the mayor also rally his troops together. With that being said, they all have to be on board. We cannot just have one sole voice and no other votes.
But if the mayor appoints 5, that
not
means
necessarily loyalty, as you all know, as sitting on city council.
If the mayor appoints 5 people,
sitting on city council,
one of those people
that you
sway,
don't always
then
have the loyalty.
They no longer need to be a member of the board. If I'm the person who appoints you and you don't work for the people and you're going to disrespect me and my wishes for the residents of this city, I will accept that as your resignation. Because you there to serve.
Do we want a bullying system like it was before? Or do we want independent thinkers?
I don't know about bullying.
We don't want to back and forth. I just want to question and answer.
We didn't get this.
Okay, go ahead. No, we good.
So, I actually have a question, but you can go ahead. Okay, so I came from magnet schools. I was born and raised in Hartford, and my parents sought to put me in a magnet school. I really do think magnet schools are good. But in what ways do you plan on bridging the gap between community neighborhood schools and magnet schools to bring them to that level? Because I feel like I would have performed at a really great level at both schools. The fact that I felt like I had to compromise my social skills at magnet school just to go to that school, that's the problem. So, and that also brings into play like parents. Like, what do you plan on doing with parents to get those kids interested in going to school? Because that's another big issue in the city of Hartford. A lot of kids don't want to go to school. So, what do you plan on doing to change that?
No, I absolutely agree. There needs to be more parenting engagement. But look what we do. We tell our kids, go to school, get a good education, go to college, come back to your community. Okay, come back to your community, apply for a job, no. Apply for another job, no. Apply for another job, no. Somebody walk in who don't even live inside the city of Hartford in some other state, walk in, get a job less qualified than you, hire. Look what we do, to our kids. So why should they want to do all of these things when they see time and time again their parents, their brothers, their aunts, their uncles, continue to do the things that we ask them to do, only to get the door shut in their face when they think, that they've made it, when they think that they've done all the things that they can do to make a difference just to have the door shut in their face. So that's one of the things that we need to deal with. The other thing is that, like I said before, you can't have the people with the least amount of knowledge of how to train, children in the district schools. Those people probably need to go in the magnet schools where kids are, don't need as much. When you got children who need a lot through experience, kids who need a lot, you don't need somebody brand new, graduated, just getting a teaching certification, going into a school like Milner and Clarke, where kids have so many other needs, and they don't have a child at their house. And unless you have a child at your house, you don't know how to deal with nobody's child. I don't care what you say, because you can't teach them if you can't reach them.
I have another question.
You let her respond.
Go ahead. You said the social.
I
said, how do you bridge the gap between the actual neighborhood schools to compare to the magnet?
Exactly.
Okay. You bring in the community businesses, you bring in the community colleges. Right now, you take, for example, Trinity College, U of H, you involved them with neighborhood schools. I believe Milner is involved with UCAM that goes in, all those students that go in, the teacher students. So you bring in that social thing. Now you said that magnet schools, when you went to magnet schools, you had to adjust.
Magnet middle school.
Okay, you had to adjust your social environment.
Yeah, because the kids at school and the kids used to play with at home.
No, they weren't. But also, the teacher has to socially adjust herself to your needs as well. Now remember, our children that are going in to any kind of schools are going in with different backgrounds within homes. We have parents who work 2 or 3 jobs. We have children who don't live with their biological parents. We have grandparents who are raising the grandchildren. We have parents that right now, if my child was to bring me an assignment from homework, I'd be like, I don't understand this math because I wasn't taught this math. So they're teaching their parents exactly what they're learning in school. So with that being said, it's all about engagement and involvement. If that teacher can't knock on your door, because I'm pretty sure I've had both my kids do both neighborhood school, regional choice, and correct math. So I have a value of all those education systems, okay? Has any of those teachers come and knocked on or made phone calls and say, Mrs. Feliciano, this is what's going to happen this school year. Welcome Destiny, welcome Cheyenne to come in. I got that both in my neighborhood school, both in the regional choice, and both in correct. It's all about the environment of the neighborhood school you're actually in. And it's all on the top head of that principal. It all lies right back into the Board of Education hands. If we don't enlighten these children to come up and say, I want to go to school tomorrow, then we're shutting the door automatically. But those teachers have a responsibility just as much as, and I don't care whether or not you're just a first graduate from teaching or if you've been there 50 years. You have to embrace, that is your job, to embrace that child with the love of education. Because education is one piece of knowledge that no one can take away from us.
But you also have to engage the parent, because I don't care how much you want to
and I
teach a
just
child,
said
the
that.
parent got to
You
be
engage
connected.
your parent.
I know why she did that.
She's being mean.
Yeah. Can you go talk to her?
I was not being mean to you.
I'm her friend now, but she's still not my friend. She's not my friend no more.
Because they won't vote for you, huh?
We might have to get them to correct that.
By yourself? So you're by yourself?
Yeah, Gwendolyn left.
All right, so brief introduction, and probably about a minute or so because our time is ticking, and then we're going to do a Q&A.
Okay, awesome. So my name's Luwannia Martin-Johnson. Most people call me Lulu because I've been here for a very long time. I grew up here, and I am an organizer by trait. It was instilled in me from my dad when I was a little person. I started organizing in Asylum Hill in 1990. After that, I started organizing with the union. I organized with CSEA, Connecticut Service Employees Association. After there, I went to organize with SEIU, Service Employees International Union. Then after that organizing, I went to work for Councilman Kennedy. I worked for Councilman Kennedy his first term for 2 years as his aide. After which I left and went to work for UAW, United Auto Workers Union. And I was a traveling organizer, which means I was international. So I was basically living out of a suitcase. I was home twice a month. And currently I work as a legislative assistant for 3 state representatives at the Capitol, where I work in the legislative office building. Majority of my work consists of constituent work, where I'm working with residents throughout the state of Connecticut, helping them resolve issues. I decided to run for Hartford City Council because we all know that Hartford has issues. We have issues, we have problems, and I want to be one of those people to help solve the problems. I want to be that person that helps Hartford, help better Hartford for the people of Hartford. So that's why I threw my hat in, and here I am.
Okay, question.
Well, I'll give you a question that I do ask everybody.
How about let's just have her.
I just had a
Because
question.
she
What representatives do you work for in the Capitol?
I currently work for Representative Adams, who's from Stanford, Representative Baker, who's from Bridgeport, and Representative Tony Guerrero, who's from Weathersfield, Rockland.
The question that we threw at everyone that came through here, the stadium, monkey on the back. The stadium will be here. We all have to suck it up. It will be opening up in 2016. As we know, the stadium comes in 3 phases. First phase is stadium, second phase is the grocery store, and Hookah Brewery. We're on the hook for 2016 for $4.5 million. The second phase of the stadium was supposed to help pay for the big price tag on the stadium. However, those projects are currently not working out so well. So what would you do as a new councilwoman to try to ensure that the city of Hartford residents do not have to incur this bill?
Okay, that's a good question, Kelly. I believe that what I could do as a new city councilwoman, because first of all, we don't know who our next city council is going to be, right? And one of the things that I would make sure that I do well is work with whoever's going to be there to help resolve that issue, where it doesn't fall on the backs of residents like you and I, okay? And that's honest right there, okay?
Any other questions? Being a Hartford resident and more of the people who are graduating college, how do you feel we retain graduates to stay and live in Hartford? Not necessarily ensuring job employment, but how do we retain young individuals to stay in Hartford?
Okay, that was one of my other questions at another group, and I think it's got to start before our youth are graduating from college. It has to start when they're in that first to second year of college. We have to make sure that they're doing internships to gain employment. I think that what needs to happen is we need to get more of our institutions involved with our colleges to do more internships, because after they do an internship and they see that that individual is qualifiable, then that lands them a job. And with the job, then comes housing, then comes the family, and it makes them want to stay. So, okay, and more programs for them. I was just telling another person that we need to figure out a way to have family functions. Like, let's say your child goes to daycare, right? Your child goes to daycare and your other child goes to elementary school. How do we bring that family together to do more family-orientated things? So I'm thinking that more programs are needed, and that's up to the individuals within the city hall to figure that stuff out, like the council people. How do we bring more programs back, basically?
The only reason I'm asking that question is I find that you have individuals who have city jobs that have had these jobs for years, and most likely they're not going to leave. So therefore, you have people who might do internships, but they're not going to receive employment based on the years of experience or those workers that are there that are not going to leave. So it's just really just transitioning. Hopefully, if you are a councilman, that you'll have a transition for those who already might have degrees.
Okay.
Because obviously starting a program from internships would be great, but those who already have degrees and ensuring that those young adults are within the city of Hartford and making a difference within the city. So that's just something that to add to that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I think you're absolutely right. And like I said, when I get on city council, I plan to work on issues like that, given the chance. Right now, I currently sit on our NRC board. I'm the Quality of Life chairperson, and we deal with issues of that, and we deal with traffic issues. And I'm also the chairperson for the Friends of Sigourney Park, which is also another quality of life issue within our neighborhood. Okay.
Another question?
Yes. My question is, why can't teachers live in the city of Hartford?
You mean why can't they or why don't they?
Well, why don't they? Why can't they? It doesn't matter. They don't live here.
Right. Honestly, if I was a teacher, I'd live here. But I don't understand why they don't want to live here. I know that that's something that a lot of people have been talking about, people coming into the city of Hartford taking our jobs. And how do we work on that? It's up to us to come together as a city and say enough is enough. Okay, because what they're doing basically is they're coming into Hartford, they're getting a paycheck from Hartford, and then they're going back spending their money where they live at. And so who has the burden?
And that's the same way with the police department too. Everybody out of town, they're not in town like they used to. You know, everybody in town used to know all the policemen, everybody in town used to know the teachers, the principals, and all. You know, my kids was not bussed out, and they got a great education.
Right.
Okay, and they didn't have to be bussed out.
Right.
Plus, they have a strong mama too.
There's no doubt in that. There's no doubt in that. Yeah, so those are the things that I want to be a part of. I want to be a part of helping to resolve those issues that we have. That, like I said, that's why I'm running for Hartford City Councilwoman, so that I can be a part of that, a part of those solutions.
Any other questions?
I know you mentioned you worked at the state capitol.
I'm sorry?
I know you mentioned you worked at the state capitol. I'm not picking on that because that question I could ask it to anybody, but my question would be, do you see any partnerships that you could have with Connecticut's not a county system, so it makes it kind of hard for a city like Hartford that shares a lot of all these suburbs. It's in a way they burden us with some problems. I think county would be different, but we're not. And it's not going to have any time soon. Do you see anything that you can do city council wise or anything beyond that with getting the state involved or other municipalities, other towns? Regionalized, but I mean, like you said, a lot of people come here for work and then they leave, and we're stuck with the burden of policing, providing it. I mean, I hate driving to work because you got everybody from they've been working here 20 years, but they still don't know how to drive. I mean, I don't get it. Even at the end, I work at 55 social services. We're right next to that. We're still learning how to drive. I mean, we're still kind of picking up the tab for a lot of things that we don't have to deal with, and then they just shoot back to the time. How are we going to bring in? And I don't see people exactly choosing to leave where they're at. I mean, it's a big obstacle. But I mean, how are we going to kind of just improve Hartford with the way things are, where people just kind of come here for work and leave? What are we going to, besides downtown, there's money, in there, people are coming out, and you read reports about it being, filled up and all that. What can we do about the other areas, the south end? I mean, west end's fine, north end, other areas, all the different neighborhoods. I mean, what can we bring in? Do you have any ideas? I mean,
well, it doesn't seem like you have a specific question.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this. As in my position as a legislative assistant to 3 state representatives, we have 151 of them. I know majority of them. Okay, and I know people that sit on board of commissions that I made friends with, that I can work with to bring some stuff to the table. Like we have our 5 state representatives that represent Hartford. I can be the one in there saying, hey, did you know this is coming up? Did you know this pot of money is here? Let me tell you about this, because I'm on the inside and I want to use that to our advantage. And I think it speaks to some of what you were saying, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, one more quick question. 21 seconds to go.
Not enough time.
Not enough time?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, well, just a closing statement then.
Closing statement is that if I am elected as one of your city councilwomen, I promise you I plan on working with each and every one of you if you should have an issue. That's what I do all day, every day of my life, in my community, and on my job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Where do I go?
I know why she did that.
She's being mean.
Yeah. Can you go talk to her?
That is not being mean to you.
I'm her friend now, but she's still not my friend. She's not my friend no more.
Because they won't vote for you, huh?
Alright, so just a rundown of how this is going to go. Talk about literally like 30 seconds if possible on a brief bio when we start, and then from there I'm going to have everyone ask questions and then you guys respond. Yeah? Okay. So we just wait for
Candidates, your 12 minutes start right now.
Rock, paper, scissors, that one.
As I introduce myself, I'm James Jimmy Sanchez, and I was born in the North End and ended up in the South End. I went to Barnum Brown Vine Street School and eventually went to St. Joseph Cathedral and graduated from South Catholic. I was in the Marines for 4 years, 6 years reserve, 4 years active. And after that, I worked for Connecticut Transit for 10 years, and now I'm at MDC. I've been there for 16 years now.
So my name's James Woulfe. I live at Charter Oak Place, and I work for an organization called Reset Social Enterprise Trust. We're a nonprofit on Park Street that helps small businesses grow. I started out there a couple years ago as a first-year law student, as an intern, and while I was there, I helped create the most and pass the most comprehensive legislation to create a new type of corporation for socially responsible businesses here in the state of Connecticut, and now I work to help those businesses grow here in Hartford. And so I want to take some of that drive, that passion, and that coalition building skill to the City Council so we can make strides here in Hartford.
Questions for the candidates?
Did you say you completed your law degree? Did you complete your law degree, or are you still in school?
I walked for graduation. I'm 1 credit shy because I need to finish a paper. So the decision I had to make was, do I finish this paper, this really long paper, or do I run for city council? So I ran for city council. I'll finish up the paper after we're done.
Okay. All right,
My question is geared towards the city council. You're working with more than one individual council mayor. So if you have something that you're trying to get across, let's just say an idea that you want to get across, can you guys give a time where you were the only one who agreed to this idea and you had to convince other people about your idea?
Well, my experience, okay. My experience is with the union. I was a union steward in Connecticut Transit, and I was on the executive board as well for the union. And I did come up with an idea, and practically everyone was against me on the board. That's when I realized that the rest of the board, unfortunately, didn't feel they were obligated to the union payers. And it was extremely disappointing. I was very, very upset. So obviously I had to take 2 steps back, go back my idea, table it, and then eventually we had it for the next meeting, and within that month I made sure that I spoke to each and every person on that executive board so they can understand what my idea is and how helpful it can be. By the following meeting, I had it passed.
So, as I mentioned, I helped write that legislation. I got it into the governor's legislative package, which I thought was huge. I thought it was great. You know, we had a Democratic legislature. I thought it was going to sail through. That's not how it works. The Republicans actually have a lot of power up the legislature. So the governor's staff said, hey, you need to work with the Republicans. I am a proud Democrat, but I went across the aisle and I worked to get Republican support for my piece of legislation. And I'm proud to say that I had more Republican senators sign on to a governor's bill in an election year than I did Democrats. So it's finding a way to connect with people that might not always agree with you, appealing to their core values and being honest with them and building a coalition. And so that, that whole experience, I think, prepared me well for what's going to happen on council.
Another question?
Yes, my question is going back to the school. How would you make sure that our teachers live in the city of Hartford that teaches our children?
That they live in the city of
Residents.
I'm a true believer, and I've always said this, I'm a true believer, whether you're a teacher, police officer, firefighter, or work in the city, or anything that has to do with the city, you best be living in Hartford.
That's what I am.
If you work for Hartford, you live in Hartford, and you're staying in Hartford. If you can't stay in Hartford, then you need to look for another job. Obviously, we have folks who are working there now. There's no choice but to leave them alone. You can't obligate them. They already have their investment elsewhere. But from now on, that's how it should be. And it should be permanent. It shouldn't be a 5-year cap. It should not. We need to make sure that the people that we hire and pay, they spend here, they live here, because that builds a community as well.
Old time. That's what we used to be.
Yeah.
See, I was the first one black deputy sheriff, and I know what we had to do back in those days. And we had to live in the city of Hartford. And we had police officers, we had, like you just said, we had teachers, we had principals, and we all different, everybody went to different churches, but we still lived right here.
Absolutely.
And we didn't have the crime that we have today.
When you're investing, when you work in Hartford, and you live in Hartford, you invest in Hartford.
Yes.
It's your community, it's your backyard. You have to care for it.
That's right.
This is a topic that Jimmy and I both agree on. I really think that our teachers should live here, our fire individuals should work here, and our police officers. But a lot of the issues that we're running into is people can't get the jobs because they may have made a mistake. One mistake earlier on in life, they might have a record. And we need to start looking at that too and saying, lowering the barrier to having Hartford residents become teachers, become police officers, become members of the fire department. And that's gonna be really important.
Now me and you would fight on that because nobody is perfect. And everybody in Hartford have got in trouble. Could be teachers, could be farmers, could be police officers. Hartford is not a bad place for people to live, but they can come on the outside and come in and live.
Right, so what I'm saying is...
Do you live in Hartford?
I do, yeah.
How long?
I've lived here for a little over a year.
Oh, yeah, okay. Because I know I never seen you, so I know. Because I know everybody just about
Okay.
Okay, another question.
I'm going to hit you up with everything I hit everybody else on. So pay attention. 2 parties. We have the stadium. As we all know, the stadium is coming in 2016. Right? The stadium comes in 3 phases. Stadium, grocery store, hooker brewery. As we all know, the other parts of the phase, the project, is not coming so much into fruition. But we're on hook for 2016 for our first payment of $4.5 million. So since the rest of this project is not coming together so well, tell me what will you do as new council people to ensure that the city of Hartford, the residents, the homeowners, don't have to pick this bill up and put it on our backs?
First thing I would do is to make sure I hold the contractors accountable to their contract. We have to make sure that they do not abandon the project. The last phase you're talking about is the residential. That residential is supposed to bring in tax revenue. Right now, from my understanding, we're having trouble just to keep Hooker, the brewery there. That's a problem. That should have been done and dealt with already. It should be a signed deal, and it's not there.
And the shovels are supposed to be in the ground by the end of next month.
And it's looking dim. It's looking dim. So, being on the council, we have to make sure that the contractors are abiding by the rules. We have to make sure that they're not taking any shortcuts. We have to make sure that they don't abandon the project because of some rules that they won't agree on or some small print or what have you. As far as guaranteeing that that won't happen, I am not aware of any language that states that they cannot break the contract. So my hopes is, now that it's being built, is to make it work. We have to make it work. It's too late now. We can't pull back. That baseball park has to be finished, and we have to make it work. We have to make sure that, if not Thomas Hooker, another brewery, or any other businesses that's going to support that stadium. Make sure that we get all the small businesses that we can involved in there to make sure that the rest of them don't pay for the $4.3 million.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, there's multiple breweries that I think would like to move to Hartford, and there are multiple supermarket chains that we can work with. And that's something that has come to my attention through various conversations that I've had. There are other potential partners that we have to work with. So as a member of City Council, I can't undo what's happened. You know, all I can do is go forward and be the best advocate that I can for this project, and ensure that we do everything we can to get a grocer in there and to get a brewery in there. And if all else fails, we need to look to some other type of development and get someone else in there, whether it's mixed retail or what have you. But we need to find a way to generate the revenue to do that. And if such a situation popped up where something were to fall through, it's on the mayor, but it's also on everyone on City Council to go out there and hit the streets and make something happen.
Well, I must say, we must plan for the worst. When you plan, if you can at least vision, okay, if this is not going to work, what can we do before the ball drops?
Is it going to be full-time jobs?
It should be full-time jobs to maintain the stadium, not part-time. Part-time jobs can be those that has a hot dog cart or what have you, which is actually a full-time job for their own. But we should have full-time jobs here. That stadium has to be maintained. We can't, once it's built, we can't just let the grass grow wild and the trash build up.
And to the extent we can, we need to pay a living wage. So we need to fight for at least $15 an hour for these individuals that are working on the base end. We need to fight for that because, $10, $11 an hour, it's not helping anyone.
I know why she did that.
She's being mean.
Yeah. Can you go talk to her?
I just not being mean to you.
I'm her friend now, but she's still not my friend. She's not my friend no more.
Because they won't vote for you, huh?
Let's start out on the plus side. What did you like about this process, this format tonight?
The personable, very personal.
It's personal? It was personal. Okay. It was good. Anybody else? Good. What did you think worked tonight?
You got to meet all 12 candidates. You got to meet all the candidates.
Got to meet all the candidates. Anything else? What worked particularly well for anybody else? All right, why don't we go to the other side? What didn't work out so well? Okay. Huh? And we can hear from the candidates too.
Yeah, we did hear.
The only thing I would say as a candidate is, have us each, give us each 1 minute to introduce ourselves at the beginning, before we sit to the 6 groups. Because we ended up going to each one of the groups and saying the same thing. And it just wasted time. We'd much rather answer questions.
Okay.
Also, too, background noise. What John and I did, we brought everybody closer in each of the groups because of the background noise. And we're kind of older, so we didn't bring our hearing aids. So we make sure that we heard all the questions efficiently so we can answer them in a time frame.
All right.
I want to say one thing. All the candidates that sit over here are, I never hear the one of them, not even one of them, say, when I become the elected councilman, my door is open anytime. I never hear one more.
My daughter's open all the time.
All right, Julio, my door is going to be open all the time. I think that this did not work for me, because I would rather have had an opportunity to hear everyone's questions simultaneously, so that we all got to hear the questions, because I'm sure that as people went around and people were asking different questions, that I missed a lot of questions that the community had, because I wasn't able to be in that session at that time to hear what their questions are. And so with the old form, where we had like X number of cards, we could actually pick the question to respond to, so everybody could hear the question and everybody could hear the response all at the same time.
Okay, thank you. Any other feedback? Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to turn it back over to.
So I'd like to invite the candidates to come to the front of the room and take participation.
Still don't work.
All the candidates, please.
See what I'm saying? Here you go.